Umpire throws the ball in the air. Stewart gets it down to Warren Foley. Fantastic. Right foot kick long towards Heath. Buck leading out. Can't take the mark. Watch out. Here comes Lukey again. Handball back to Buck. Steps around a couple. Runs through the middle. Off a step from 40 metres out. Kicks the goal. What a goal. Kicks his fourth.
I'm assuming it's probably the men's that they're referring to. But so it's, for me, probably to Koning. It would be the person from looking outside in. That was the one that I always was thinking. He's a competitive, tall, and has the ability to play down the spine and in the ruck. And I was just thinking he could be. And you've got Cerra. I reckon Cerra could be up there. Marchbank, if he gets himself right, and we're hoping he does. I think Fisher probably too is probably up there. So there's four. But out of them all, I'd probably, if I was a betting man, I'm not a betting man, but I think the Koning.
G'day guys, welcome back to My Blue Heaven and another video. Our team has a bye this weekend, so I was always going to put together some player type videos and just a little bit of a thought on, a number of our players on our list. Now, you just heard in that little snippet there from our CEO, Brian Cook, Bryzer or Cookie. That interview was from late 2021. I reckon he may have been in the job for no more than 3 weeks when he did that interview. And he was responding to a question based on what players he was looking forward to seeing over the course of the next couple of years. He mentioned TDK there, Cerra, Caleb Marchbank and Zach Fisher. Now, the reason why I'm using that snippet is because I think it's interesting, because out of anyone at our club at the moment, I think Brian Cook this year has probably been the most transparent in regards to our list. He's just, and when I say transparent, he hasn't been really transparent, but I think there's a bit of a hint in the way he's spoken this year that this list isn't good enough to contend. Might be okay to potentially play finals, but not good enough to win grand finals, and definitely not good enough to be a sustainable football team over many years. Does he rate this list? Who knows? But I just don't think, from his point of view, it's not good enough at this stage. So, and he would know. Look, he would know. Okay, he's been, before us, he was at 2 very successful clubs. A smallish dynasty at the West Coast Eagles. They won premierships in 92, 94 when he was there. And then he went to Geelong through that golden era at the Cats. So he would know, what type of individuals it takes. Not just playing ability, but also, a number of factors, including leadership and that competitive sort of nature. So I actually sort of quite trust Brian Cook. He mentioned those players back in 2021, the ones that he was looking forward to seeing at the time. So let's have a look at them, because they're still at our club. And maybe 3 of these now, out of the 4, have definitely got uncertain futures over the next 6 months, and whether they will be at our club at all in 2024. So I'll start with Caleb March. Actually, I'll start with Adam Cerra, because he will definitely be with us in 2024. And Cookie mentioned Adam Cerra at that stage when he did that interview, Brian Cook, Cerra had just arrived at our club, hadn't played a game for us. They'd come across from the Fremantle Dockers. And it was a fair bit of hype, obviously, giving up pick 6 to get Cerra into our football club. And he was a former pick number 5 at the Dockers. So there was a bit of hype, wanted to come back home to Victoria. So obviously, yeah, Cook sort of mentioned him. So let's have a look, because he certainly hasn't disappointed Adam Cerra. He'll be 24 in October. That pick that we gave up for Adam Cerra, the Dockers ended up using that to pick up Jaya Miss. And he's going to be a good player. He's going to be a good player for the Dockers for many years, you would expect. He's a hybrid. I wouldn't call him a power forward, but he's that hybrid type who can take a mark and is a beautiful set shot for goal. So they'd be extremely happy with what they've got. But it's definitely left their midfield a little bit thin. Although Brayshaw and Sarong are very, very, very good players, they would have definitely still loved to have had Adam Cerra on their books. If we didn't take Cerra and we decided to go to the draft, just having a look so far, it's still very early in regards to who we could have taken if we wanted midfielders. But there's no doubt Ben Hobbs, who the Bombers picked up with number 13, or Connor McDonald, the Hawks at 26, and Jake Saliga, who's just signed a long-term deal at the Adelaide Crows. They could have been excellent fits for our club. But we decided to go a little bit more experience and get Cerra into the club. And he has not disappointed. He's played over 100 games, so he's an experienced footballer, but still young. 32 of those games have been in our football club. 18 last year. Started the year off really well, then ran into a few injuries, which curtailed his season, although he did come back late in the year and played exceptionally well in the last game of the year against the Pies, which really, I suppose, showed his class. But this year he's gone to another level, and there's no doubt he is now playing. He's playing the type of football that I would think when we decided to give up pick 6 for Adam Cerra, I think this is the type of performance that, or the consistency that you would want when you're giving up such a draft pick. He's played all games this year, 14 games, 6 times he's had over 30 touches, including 39 against the Saints. Tough opposition. But possessions aren't everything. Does he necessarily hurt the opposition with his possessions? Maybe not yet, and I think that's something he can still add to his game. He's only kicked the 5 goals this season, but kicked 2 against the Suns, so hopefully that's something he can build on. But he has a really nice balance of inside and sort of the outside game. Got a 4-year deal, and it's paying dividends for us, and he's clearly leading our best and fairest. Clearly. If he finishes off the year relatively strongly, he will take home that award. My question to you guys, though, is Adam Cerra, is he an A-grader? Is he an elite player of the competition? He's not there yet, but will he get there? I actually said the thing I like about Adam Cerra, in a really tough year for the football club, he's one that stood really tall. And a year that the midfield has really struggled, he's the one who stood really tall, which to me potentially says something about his character and also his leadership ability. I think it's been an enormous year by Adam Cerra. And Cookie, when he said that in 2021, I think he was pretty much spot on that he was looking forward to seeing Adam Cerra, and he has not disappointed. Let's go on to Caleb Marchbank. Right here, last year of his contract at the club, signed a 1-year deal last year, rolled the dice. He played the last 3 games of 2022 and showed a little bit in those games, and the club rolled the dice. I reckon he's 500,000 to 1 to be at our club in 2024, Caleb Marchbank, and it's such a shame. At only 26 years of age, he will be 27 in December. He's still very young. But this is the 7th year at our football club, and he's played 45 games. Did not play any football at all in 2020 and 2021. And has only played the 4 games last season. I mentioned those last 3 after that ACL, and then signed that 1-year contract. Has not played any senior football this year at all. Just played the 3 VFL games. Played against Willie, picked up 13 disposals. Sydney, then Frankston, picked up 18 apiece. We know he can play. We know he can play at that level, but he just has not had any continuity in his football at all. And I think the latest injury concerns are calf-related. Similar maybe to what David Cunningham was experiencing with his calf. He's just ran out of time. And the problem I see it now for Caleb Marchbank is because Brody Kemp is playing so well, you can't see him being dropped. You can't see Mitch McGovern being dropped. Maybe he won't be at the football club in 2024, Mitch McGovern, but he's playing good enough football not to be dropped. You've got Jacob Wiedering down there and potentially Lewis Young, who's out of form at the moment in front of Caleb Marchbank. So if he's going to come into this team, which I think he will if his body's right, who's he going to replace? So is he going to have to wait for an injury to get his opportunity? And I just don't think... The inability to get him on the park this year, which is such a shame because he's just had a wretched run with injuries since he hurt his neck, and it's just snowballed time after time with Caleb Marchbank. I just can't see him being at the club in 2024. And Cookie said, if we can get him on the park, if we can get him fit, and it was always an if. And you know what? At the end of last year, when they said, okay, let's sign into a 1-year deal, great. 1 year was enough. And this is why I was so savage in my Lockie O'Brien video, that the club decided to go a 2-year deal with him. And I know it's a different situation because Lockie O'Brien's pretty durable. But Caleb Marchbank's got more talent and more heart and probably more toughness in his little fingernail than Lockie O'Brien's got in his whole body. So I understand the 1-year deal based on his durability, but it just hasn't worked. And you can't keep just going back and going, hopefully he'll come good. Hopefully he'll come good. So it's going to be a fascinating end to the season in regards to what happens to Marchbank. Does he get on the park? Can he stay on the park? But as I said, 500,000 to 1 chance of being at Princes Park in 2024. Let's go to Zach Fisher. And I've got little doubt that Brian Cook, when he first arrived at Princes Park, would have been basing his excitement on Zach Fisher on a game that Zach Fisher played against the Cats at the MCG in 2022. No, actually, no. He would have been... No, he in fact, this was 2021. What am I saying here? He was outstanding last year, Zach Fisher. Outstanding. So Brian Cook, he identified that Zach Fisher, who really, pre-Michael Voss, was really struggling. So Brian Cook saw something in Zach Fisher. Okay, this is an exciting player. And last year he had his best season for the football club. He's played 103 games now. He's kicked 52 goals, which is under. I reckon that is well under for that type of high half forward. I reckon you nearly need to be going at a goal a game. 22 games in 2022. The most impressive thing, he came 8th in the John Nichols medal. And he had a handy 7 players in front of him. Cripps, Doherty, Walsh, Charlie, Hewitt, Sard, Harry. That's an exceptional list in front of Zach Fisher. And to come 8th in the best and fairest is a big effort for him. Now, last year he was outstanding. And that game, it's funny what Cookie said, because his best performance came against Geelong, 27 touches in round 18, a game we lost, and he was by far our best player on the big stage in that game. This year has been an absolute disaster for Zach Fisher. He's played the 8 games and been dropped twice. He's had 3 games over 20 touches, which looks okay on paper. And one of those was a 29-touch game or a 28-touch game against North Melbourne. And he was dropped after the West Coast Eagles game after picking up 21 touches and the team won by over 100 points. He was dropped for the first time this year, then went back and spent a considerable amount of time in the VFL. He returned against Melbourne in round 12 after picking up 40 touches against an undermanned Sydney Swans at the SCG in a curtain raiser, just roaming around doing what he liked, and then came in against the D's and really stunk it up with just 14 touches. He did kick a goal and then dropped again. The last 2 games, he's gone back to the VFL and he's playing as a running defender. Against the Bombers in the VFL, over the last 2 weeks, he picked up 29, and the loss against Werribee last week, he had 24, but only laid 4 tackles. And I reckon it is this. I reckon it is his work rate and his inability to really put his head over the footy. No defensive pressure. He's averaging 1 tackle a game. 1 tackle a game in season 2023, and he's having no impact in games at all. Probably reduced midfield minutes this year compared to last. And I think there would be question marks now on Zach Fisher, whether he'll be at the club in 2024. I know he signed a 2-year deal last year, an extension, which sees him at the club until the end of 2025. But I think if a team comes a knocking on the door, and I'm talking about an opposition team that would show interest in Zach Fisher, that we would entertain it. We would entertain it. I would be really interested to know what he would be worth, though, in regards to a draft pick. So originally picked 27 back in 2016, the second of the Stephen Silvani drafts. He's now played 103 games, so he's a mature footballer. Would we get a similar draft pick in return on the open market, considering he is contracted? Because I don't know necessarily what's going on with Zach Fisher and whether he's reached his ceiling or not, and whether he works hard enough as an AFL footballer. But he did show last year that he was more than capable to have an impact in games, but he's really dropped away this year, which is disappointing. Really disappointing. And the final one, and the most, I suppose, the one that's got the most leverage at the moment is Tom de Koning. And this is just bubbling away, guys, not in the background. It is bubbling away, and we can hear it. And the talk is going to increase, and it will continue to increase. And there's no word now. There was a rumour earlier on the year that TDK would sign. And this is the one, Brian Cook. This is the player Brian Cook was most looking forward to seeing run around for the Carlton Football Club when he first arrived at the club. He called him a competitive tall who has the ability to play down the spine. And we have mentioned on this show before that when we talk about the spine, we're talking about defence, key position, not just key forward. We've never seen him as a key defender. Obviously, can play in the ruck. Is he a really good ruckman? We don't know yet. Has he got the capability as playing as a key forward? That is now, I think, there's a lot of doubt about that. So is it ruck forward? Because I don't think it's forward ruck. Can he play key defender? Will he be at the club next year? I'm going to say I don't think he will be. I don't think he will be at our club next year, Tom de Koning. And he is 24 years of age next month. He was pick 30, which when you look at it, when you look at that pick 30 by SOS in 2017, if he does decide to go and he is out of contract, we will get something lower than that. We'll get possibly a first round draft pick for TDK, you would have thought. There will be clubs into him. I'll be spewing if he goes to Geelong. I really would be. I know that's not a soft option for him, considering a lot of his family live down there and he loves to surf and his brother plays football for the Cats, but I don't know. I just really hate that. 16 goals from his 50 odd games, 28 games over the last 2 seasons for the football club. I think significantly last year he was overlooked for round 22 and 23. Arguably the 2 biggest games for the season, they went with Mark Pitnet. He played in the VFL. After he did a reasonable job when Pitnet was out with injury. And then this year, he started off the year with Pitnet. He was managed after the round 5 loss against Adelaide, but I think that was more of an omission than a managed. He was concussed in the VFL. Returned to our team versus Sydney, mostly as a forward. Couldn't catch a cold in that game. Pitnet's been out for 2 or 3 weeks, came back against the Suns on the weekend. But to me, TDK plays his best football when Pitnet isn't there. When he's got not so much free rein, but he's got responsibility. We can see him starting to grow over the last couple of weeks. I'm not saying he was outstanding against the Suns or Melbourne, but he was definitely building like he built last year. So when you see performances like that from TDK, they're not mind-blowing performances, but there's definitely something to work on. My concern now is when Mark Pitnet, who is now back into the team, starts to take the lion's share of the ruck, leaving Pitnet to play, to play that sort of that forward ruck role. And I just don't think he has the forward craft. I really don't. I know he kicked 2, one was from a free kick. That is still very much, something which I'm not convinced on. Would I like to see him go? Definitely not, because I think he's got a lot of ability. And I judge and I really respect Brian Cook's eye for these types of things, particularly the labelling of him being a competitive tall. And I reckon the Cats would have been talking about this kid when they drafted his brother, if they could somehow lure him to Cardinia Park. I'm feeling that's where he's going to end up, considering Geelong's ruck stocks and potential sort of forward as well with Hawkins and Jerry McCameron at the back end of their careers. Interesting time, guys. So there's There's Cookie's boys. TDK, Caleb Marchbank, Adam Cerra and Zach Fisher. 3 of those with uncertain futures at our club beyond this year. Tell me what you think. Speak soon.